guys, yeah, I know I look like a junkie, which is the way I always look when I don't have makeup on my face, but yeah. Anyway, I've been basically on an Insomniac roll for the past like 3 weeks, I think, and I just don't have the physical or mental strength to put any makeup or any other shit on my face. That's why I look like I'm basically one step away from a drug overdose. Don't worry, I don't do drugs or anything like that. I'm just really tired. I mean, if you suffer from chronic insomnia like I do, you know how tough this is, and you just kinda gotta roll with it and live with it. Like, it's no big deal, cause there ain't no choice, not really. So, forgive me my makeup-less, gothic-less face. Today I'm looking like a junky potato, and I'm sorry for that. I know, I look terrible, oh my god. Anyway, since I'm on an Insomniac roll again, and I look like this, yeah, fuck. I decided that, hey, let's do an insomnia-related video, so you guys can relate. So it's gonna be story time with Vicky. I'm gonna call it Insomniac Stories because that sounds cooler than Story Times with Vicky. And today I'm gonna talk to you guys about my insomniac hallucinations. Because you might get a laugh out of it, or even if you don't laugh, maybe you can kind of, you know, feel like someone understands you if you suffer from chronic insomnia like me and you've had hallucinations due to lack of sleep in your life before, which totally sucks. But it's okay. So if you suffer from chronic insomnia like I do, and your face looks so drug addicted all the time, no, just kidding. But if you do suffer from chronic insomnia like I do, then you have probably had at least one sleep-deprived hallucination in your life, because that's kind of how you roll when you've had barely no sleep and your brain just stops functioning. And you know how much it sucks, basically. But I'm just gonna tell you guys my story. So the first time I've ever had a hallucination, it was a hearing hallucination. Because generally, when you've got any sort of, well, I don't want to call insomnia a mental illness, because I don't really feel like this is a mental illness. But let's say that if you've got any mental illnesses that involve hallucinations, then you probably know that most of the time hallucinations aren't seeing things, it's usually hearing things. It's like in the worst case scenarios, you see things. And it's similar with insomnia. Like, usually when you get hallucinations because you're so sleep deprived, you usually hear things, you don't see things, because we just rarely have visual hallucinations. So it's usually just the audio. And that was my first encounter. I was 11, I was in grade 5, and I managed to fall asleep for a bit, and then I woke up and I couldn't fall asleep again, because that's how insomnia works. You constantly wake up and it's shit. It's even worse than not falling asleep at all. I think that waking up constantly every goddamn 10 minutes or 20 minutes is even worse than not sleeping at all, but that's just my opinion. And so I was really tired. I didn't know the whole insomnia thing that much yet, because I was really young. My sleeping problems started when I was around 10 and a half maybe. And so this was winter, so I was 11 and a half. And I've been on a bender, well, not, you know, an alcoholic bender, but let's call it an insomniac bender. Insomniac roll, insomniac bender is how I'm gonna be calling this shit from now on, because it sounds cool. And I haven't slept for like, I think, a week. I mean, not like I haven't slept at all, but I've slept very, very little. And at that time, it was the most time I hadn't slept at all, because it was like the beginnings of my insomnia, basically. And I hear this Spanish guy just talking very, very fast into my ear, and I was so fucking terrified. I just kept my eyes closed and I wished for it to go away because I had no idea that this is a hallucination. I thought there was literally a Spanish guy leaning over me and talking to my fucking ear. So when I kind of, you know, got used to the idea that someone talking in my ear in Spanish, I opened up my eyes and of course there was no one there, but I could still hear someone talking to me in Spanish. Now I don't speak Spanish fluently, but I've learned it for a short period of time from my friend who studied Spanish, so yeah. So I kind of knew what the language sounds like, and I don't know, maybe, I'm not saying that those were actually Spanish words, but they sounded very Spanish to me anyway. I hope it doesn't sound racist in any way. And God, that was bloody terrifying, because that was the first time I have ever had any sort of hallucination due to sleep deprivation or not, although I've never had hallucinations that weren't caused by my insomnia. I don't do drugs or any other shit like that. I don't get drunk like ever, so I don't know if you can get hallucinations if you're drunk. I don't know, you see, that's how undrunk I am. That's how little I drink. I don't even know shit like this. Never mind. So yeah, I was bloody terrified, and if you've ever had a hallucination due to sleep deprivation, so like your mind is clear, you're not on drugs or anything, and you have just, your mind is clear that you're sleep deprived and you have no idea what's going on, you know how freaking terrifying it always is the first time. So that was the first time I ever had a hallucination at all. The first time I had, because I've only had 2 visual hallucinations during the nearly, I guess, something around 10 years that I've been insomniac. The first time I had a hallucination that was visual, I was, oh god, I think I was 14. I think I was 14, and I was like on an insomniac bender, like, I'm sorry for using the word like so much today, but as I mentioned, I just haven't slept in such a long time. I mean, I guess you can see it from my face because I just look like shit, but never mind. I haven't slept, I mean, I've been sleeping on and off for a month, but I haven't really gotten much sleep at all. And I was lying in bed, it was like 1 in the morning, it was winter again, and I used to live in a house back then, so downstairs we had the kitchen and the living room, and upstairs we had the bedrooms. And I had the bedroom with the roof that went like this, so my windows were like this, like above my bed. And I suddenly, there was a window next to my bed that was also like this, and I suddenly see a guy with a flashlight just peering into my window and flashing a flashlight to my room. So I acted like absolutely every intelligent horror movie person, although I always told myself I totally wouldn't do that shit, but I did, because I have no idea why. Like, I just did. And instead of hiding or going to tell someone, I fucking went up to that fucking window. Sorry. And so, the moment I got to the window, the flashlight the guy disappeared. So it was the 2nd floor, there was nowhere he could have gone, and even if he'd gone down there had to be a ladder or something. I mean, it took me like 2 seconds to get from my bed to the window, so no, he would have just disappeared. So I figured that must have been a hallucination. I mean, what else could it have been? And yeah, the first time was a visual hallucination. I mean, by then I was kind of used to having audio hallucinations. I mean, they happened to me around 3 or 4 times since the first time, so it was like I understood what was going on. And don't get me wrong, even when I've got these benders, I don't get hallucinations often. We get sleep-deprived hallucinations very rarely, when our body is literally nearly dying from sleep deprivation. Well, okay, that was maybe a little bit melodramatic. My point is, you don't get hallucinations out of sleep deprivation all the time, especially when you have insomnia, because I guess your body kind of gets used to it. So, you know, I over the span of those 3 years, I guess, 4 years, 3 years, 2-3 years, I had hallucinations like 3 or 4 times only, so, you know, they happen rarely. But that was my first visual hallucination, and that was scary as fuck as well. My second sleep-deprived visual hallucination happened when I was 15, and I had another tough time sleeping. I don't remember how long I hadn't slept then, but generally it was like, again, 1 or 2 in the morning, and I just couldn't sleep at all, so I decided to get up and go to the bathroom, because, you know, when you don't sleep through most of the night, you kind of need to go to the bathroom 2 or 3 times, you know, just you know, your bladder gets full and all that shit. And I got up, and everything was dark. I mean, everyone was asleep and everything. And I just went out of my door and went to go to the bathroom, and then I noticed this woman, all in white, in a white long dress and white long hair and her white face, basically kind of like a ghost, but she was very beautiful, just running through the corridor, and then she just disappeared. So it was the second time I had a visual hallucination. And it didn't scare me out that much back then, because it was the second time, and I figured, okay, I don't really believe in ghosts. I'm not saying they don't exist, I just don't personally believe in them, not really. So I figured, man, hallucination. I mean, if you believe in a ghost, you can interpret this to be a ghost and not a visual hallucination due to sleep deprivation. Totally fine with me, like, do whatever you want with this information. But since I don't believe in ghosts, and I was really in need of sleep back then, because I haven't slept for a long time, yeah, I kind of prefer to interpret this as a visual hallucination due to lack of sleep. And the last hallucination I've had, I don't think it's really worth mentioning, but I'm just gonna tell you guys so you know you don't feel alone if you have shit like this going on. The last one I had was kind of at the beginning of the Insomniac bender or Insomniac rule that I'm on now, so it was, I think, 2 weeks ago, yeah. And I just heard someone walking in my room and knocking things over and scratching themselves and just thudding, and I was like lying in bed with my cat, so it wasn't my cat, and I could see pretty well in the darkness. I mean, when you're insomniac this long, your hearing and your eyes and everything, you kind of just get used to the darkness and shit. So I saw there was nobody in the room, and none of the things were really falling off anything, but, you know, still heard them. Didn't really scare me that much, but it was irritating. It's always irritating. Yeah. I don't know if I should be telling you guys stuff like this. I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. But since I know that some of you guys are insomniac like me, and I know that some of you guys, for some of you guys, literally probably the only reason why you watch me and my videos is because I'm insomniac and you can relate to me and you feel less alone, and that is totally understandable. So I thought that I'd make this video so you could relate to this, because, you know, there are people who've got insomnia from time to time. I mean, insomnia isn't like something you have to have for the rest of your life. So, you know, and it's not that tough, but then there are people like me and maybe some of you who really do have it tough with insomnia, who can't get out of bed the next day because they haven't slept for like 3 days in a row, and they are basically just vomiting their insides out. That's how tired they are. And you know, people that haven't slept for such a long time that they see or hear things, that shit is kind of frustrating, and it really tires the heck out of you. So I want to tell you guys, you're not alone. I hope you found my hallucinations entertaining and you can laugh at them. And if you don't want to laugh at them, then at least I hope you could relate to them, so you feel less alone and you know I love you, and this shit will end one day, hopefully. Oh man, I should go to sleep, but what the fuck? Okay, never mind. But I have to go make lunch. Fuck yeah. So, I hope to see you next time. Oh god, that's the ending sequence. I meant, like, comment something nice, please. Subscribe to my junky looking potato face. Maybe if you subscribe, I'll get more sleep. So you should better do that. Yes. And I hope to see you next time. Yeah, bye. Mwah.